Our schools were meant to educate, but they no longer do. Instead of equipping children with critical thinking skills, self-discipline, and problem-solving abilities, the modern school system is doing something else entirely. It is reprogramming kids to think in a certain way, to believe only what they are told, and to reject anything that challenges the prescribed narrative. Historically, the purpose of school was to prepare children for adult life. This meant teaching them the skills they would need to function independently. Skills like reading, writing, mathematics, logic, history, and scientific reasoning were at the forefront of education. It also meant instilling discipline, work ethic, and self-control. Traditional education wasn't perfect, but it focused on competence, ensuring children left school with the necessary skills to contribute to society. But something changed. Recent data indicates a troubling decline in children's reading abilities. The National Assessment of Educational Progress, or NAEP, in 2024 found that reading scores for both 4th and 8th graders dropped by 2 points compared to 2022, continuing a downward trend that predates the COVID-19 pandemic. The NAEP Long-Term Trend Assessment in 2023 found that reading scores for 13-year-olds declined across all performance levels compared to 2020, with decreases ranging from 3 to 7 points. The National Literacy Trust Report in 2024 found that only 35% of children aged 8 to 18 reported enjoying reading in their spare time, marking a sharp decline from previous years. These statistics highlight a significant reduction in both reading proficiency and interest among students, a shift that warrants serious attention. As a former teacher and parent, I want to be clear, reading isn't just a school responsibility, it's a parental responsibility too. Schools may be failing to teach kids critical reading and comprehension skills, but the truth is parents are also dropping the ball. Studies show that kids who are read to at home on a regular basis develop stronger literacy skills, better comprehension, and a greater love for learning. But many parents aren't making reading a daily habit. Instead, kids are spending hours on screens, consuming quick-hit entertainment, and their ability to focus, process information, and think critically is declining. Then there's this. Over time, education has been politicized. Instead of focusing on skill building, modern schools have shifted their goal. They no longer aim to create independent thinkers. They aim to create compliant citizens who accept ideological programming without question. This leads to more screen time as a natural consequence because it does not require active thinking. The brain runs the path of least resistance. This is why, among other things, screens are so addictive for kids. True education teaches students how to think, not what to think. However, today's curriculum is increasingly focused on indoctrination rather than intellectual development. Instead of teaching children how to debate ideas, examine different viewpoints, and develop independent thought, modern education presents only one perspective, one that aligns with a specific political or ideological agenda. Certain topics are presented as untouchable truths. Alternative perspectives are silenced. Critical thinking is discouraged. Kids are told who they are, not given the tools to help them discover who they are on their own. Many teachers themselves are not even aware they are doing this. They were trained in universities that promoted ideological conformity over intellectual rigor. As a result, they passed that same programming down to their students. A study by Stanford University in a 2022 online report found that over 80% of students cannot distinguish between real news and propaganda. Instead of questioning what they read, students are being trained to accept it at face value. Why? Because schools no longer teach logic, reasoning, or debate skills. Instead, students are given pre-packaged opinions and told to repeat them. They are discouraged from questioning authority. They are graded based on their ability to conform, rather than their ability to think critically. I saw this firsthand at university. I was expected to parrot the ideologies of my professor and was discouraged from independent thought. I was told when I questioned faulty logic on a particular subject, "You're an undergrad, you don't get to have an opinion yet." Here lies the problem. The result, a generation that is more emotionally reactive, more ideologically rigid, and less capable of independent thought. The system is failing good teachers. Many great teachers have left the profession because they are no longer allowed to do their jobs properly. They are forced to teach scripted curriculums that leave no room for intellectual exploration. They are required to focus on social and political messaging rather than real academics. They are not supported in the classroom, particularly with kids who have behavioral issues, and they are not financially compensated enough. I saw this when my son was at school. I was told we don't have enough teachers to watch the kids at lunchtime. This resulted in my son being bullied day after day. This is why good teachers are leaving, and schools are now hiring a wave of barely trained, ideologically motivated activists who are more interested in pushing their beliefs than actually educating children. This has created a massive decline in teaching quality, classroom discipline, and academic standards. Schools are failing at discipline and executive functioning training. Another major shift in modern education is the failure to teach executive functioning skills. Executive functioning refers to the mental skills necessary for success in life: impulse control, emotional regulation, focus, time management, and problem solving. In the past, schools reinforced these skills by instilling discipline, accountability, and structure. Today, these principles have been abandoned in favor of social-emotional frameworks that do not actually teach kids self-discipline or self-regulation. Instead of addressing disruptive behavior, many schools enable it by removing consequences and avoiding personal responsibility. This has led to an increase in classroom chaos, lower academic outcomes, and children who cannot function without external guidance. The decline in student discipline and academic performance is a multifaceted issue, with both schools and parents playing pivotal roles. While schools have increasingly adopted lenient discipline policies, often due to parental pressures, this shift has inadvertently contributed to classroom disruptions and diminished learning outcomes. Many parents advocating for their children's rights have opposed traditional disciplinary measures, leading schools to adopt more permissive approaches. This well-intentioned advocacy has resulted in the removal of essential behavioral boundaries. One study highlighted that parents are key components in dealing with students' discipline. Once parents get encompassed in students' matters, students tend to have positive behavior. The shift towards less stringent discipline has had several unintended outcomes, such as classroom disruptions. Teachers report that the most significant discipline problems are classroom disruptions, lack of respect for teacher authority, verbal abuse of teachers, and inappropriate student behavior in school buildings. Indiscipline leads students to lose focus on educational goals, which are achieved through hard work, time management, respect for others, and self-determination. Teacher and student safety. The current K-12 discipline model allows a physically and emotionally unsafe environment that has left students, teachers, and administrators seriously injured. Beyond influencing school policies, parental involvement directly impacts student behavior and academic success, leading to increased communication between home and school, reduced disruptive behaviors, and increased on-task behavior. Students with involved parents are less likely to suffer from low self-esteem or develop behavioral issues, leading to better academic outcomes. As you can see, this is a multifaceted, major societal issue that we need to address right now. What this means for the future. If this continues, the next generation will be less capable of thinking for themselves, more emotionally fragile and unable to handle disagreement, more dependent on authority figures to tell them what to believe, ill-prepared for real-world challenges and responsibilities. This is not just an education issue. It is a crisis that will affect the entire future of our society. The good news is that you have the power to change this. Teach critical thinking at home. Encourage your child to ask questions about what they are taught. Teach them how to analyze sources of information and spot bias. Help them understand that disagreement is not dangerous, it is necessary. Work with the school, not against it. Talk to your child's teacher about their behavior and what you can do at home to prepare them better for school. Get involved with the school as much as you can. Learn what they are teaching your child. Vote on school boards. Hold them accountable. Take home reading materials. Ask for it even if it is not offered. Read with your child. Take them to the library on the weekends, museums, art galleries. Spark their imagination beyond screens. Help your child develop executive functioning skills. Teach children how to manage emotions, focus, and problem solve. Give them responsibilities at home to build independence and accountability. Advocate for real education reform. Push for curriculum transparency in your school district. Demand that schools focus on real-world skills, not ideological narratives. Support teachers who are committed to real education, not political messaging. Parents can no longer afford to be passive. If you want your child to grow up with real skills, real discipline, and real independence, you have to take an active role in their learning. Which brings me to today's sponsor. That's why I created BrainFit, a program that helps parents teach children all 12 executive functioning skills. I have around 20 schools signed up to this program as it is suitable for parents and educators. Eventually, we will get it into more schools. If you want to raise a child who can think critically, regulate their emotions, and make independent decisions, check out the pinned comment for more information. Do you teach executive functioning skills at home? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your story. Follow me for more, and let's raise a generation that thinks for itself and become victorious in your parenting.